All right, the AirPods Pro 3. So Apple hyped these so hard at their launch event, and for good reason, because these are legitimately awesome. So I got these in right after the event, popped them in, awesome ANC, awesome mics, really cool new tips that are much more comfortable, great battery life. There's so much stuff that's happening here that is just truly best in class or best in the market. However, there was one thing that bugged me the moment I put these in and started testing them. It's that whenever I would listen to music, and then pop in the old APP2s, AirPod Pro 2s, I preferred the sound from AirPod Pro 2. So when I got home, I started doing some blind listening tests. I set them up in my bedroom, I was listening with my wife, and we both consistently preferred the sound from APP2. And it was not every single track, but the vast majority of them. It was strange, and we tried to trick each other. We would try to pretend to switch buds, and it was proper A/B testing. Now, if I had to describe why, it's that the sound of APP2 just sounded more natural. This sounded, maybe I'm just used to it, but it just sounded the way it should. But on APP3, it sounded like, I'm using words to describe audio here, but it sounded like the tracks were stretched artificially to give them an artificial sense of extra detail. And it just didn't sound the way that I felt like the music should. Now I took these devices and measured them with this ear tube apparatus. It's a very simple ear canal and eardrum simulator. And these are the measurements. So this is for AirPods Pro 2, and then this is for AirPods Pro 3. So a few things caught my eye on these plots. The APP3s, the new ones, have more sub-bass. There's not a lot of music that actually goes down to those frequencies, but if you listen to stuff that has really, really deep and low bass, the new APP3s do a better job at presenting that sound. But secondly, if you look at the bass on the APP3s, there's a dip there. And I've seen some earbuds do this to emphasize the sub-bass more. When you carve out a little bit of that bass and remove it, that sub-bass just pops out a little bit more. There's just more contrast because of that missing kind of middle area in that bass. And I'm not sure if that's why Apple did it, but I've definitely seen other brands do it to make the lower frequencies pop, and some people like that. There's also a blip or a peak at 2.5 kilohertz that exists on APP3 that did not exist on APP2. And these were a little bit weird to me. I measured this multiple times and they're there on both the left and right buds. I'm not sure why. Now, these characteristics that I'm drawing your attention to, these are the main things that stood out to me. But it's not that I'm saying this plot is bad or that APP3 is worse than APP2. It's not. It's just that it's not obviously better. Now, for me, APP2 had amazing sound, and I would put them at a 9 out of 10. APP3, I put them at 8.8, just slightly worse based on my personal preferences in sound. Now, the rest of the product is so much better. Literally every other characteristic and every other feature of AP3 is amazing. So the first is the fit. These sit and fit differently in your ear than the previous generation. There's a protrusion that comes out a little bit from the earbud before it goes into your ear canal. So this sticks out just a couple of millimeters, but it makes the whole product stick away. When this thing rests in your ear, it actually rests a little bit further away from your ear than the previous APP2. So this is the old one, and when you take off the ear tip, that little protrusion isn't there. So this just sits more flush to your head, or to your ear actually, and this wasn't as comfortable. I much prefer the fit and feel of the new one. The new ones are fractionally heavier than the APP2, but the extra weight is completely imperceptible when you're wearing them. The tips, so these have that new foam-infused silicone tips. They come with 5 tip sizes now. There's now an extra small at the smallest end, which actually fits the ear canal of my 6-year-old. Not that I would ever get a pair of $250 earbuds for my 6-year-old, but I feel that's what they're aiming for the younger audience, for these things to fit for them. I don't find AirPods Pro to be uncomfortable. I just find APP3 to be a little bit better for long-term wear. But they didn't stay in my ear all that well when playing sports. I'd still want the hooks from Powerbeats 2 for that. Now, in terms of active noise cancellation, these are crazy powerful. APP2 was already amazing with ANC. These just take it to another level. They're awesome. So we can use the little ear tube to simulate what it sounds like fairly accurately. I don't know if it's double the ANC like they claim, but this has very effective active noise cancellation. And it's three things that are contributing to this. First are the foam infused seals. These do a better job than before. Secondly, it's the computation around that ANC. But third is the microphones. The mics on AirPods Pro 3 are excellent. I'm using them right now to record this so you can kind of get a sense of what they sound like. They're obviously great for like taking a call or whatever, but if you had to use some kind of microphone in a pinch for recording yourself or some kind of like content creation, they're totally usable if you have nothing else. Now, in terms of like noise cancellation of background sounds, they're not great. This is like a hairdryer here. You can still hear a lot of that hairdryer over this. So it's not great for like killing the environmental sound. But when you compare it to the mics on AirPods Pro 2, these sound noticeably worse. Now, with these excellent mics, you also get a top tier transparency mode. This sounds so natural on APP3. It almost sounds like you don't even have earbuds in your ear. Like the voices that come through, they just sound remarkably similar to just an actual voice. The listening mode is off right now, but when you put in this transparency mode, it opens up and my voice does come through in a pretty natural tone. There's also the new live translation function. It's currently in beta, but this works on device. It doesn't send anything to the cloud. You do need to download the language pack that you want to translate in advance. Once you do, it seems to work really well with those one-on-one conversations.
For something really very cheap, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, especially for my $3. But I can try to find a really economical option.
There is a little bit of a delay in that translation because it's waiting for the speaker to finish its sentence to kind of capture the proper context, but I found it plenty fast enough, and just the conversation flow wasn't broken because of that delay. I found it very useful. It is, though, coming to other devices, so APP2 and AirPods 4 are getting it down the line, but I do wonder how much the mic quality will have an effect on how good that live translation experience will be, because these have really good mics. There's a heart rate sensor now on AirPods Pro 3 that work in a very similar fashion to what we saw on the Powerbeats Pro 2 a little while back, and these are very accurate. From all the testing I've done, like it's surprising that something that's situated in your ear canal can just capture a good heart rate, but it works. You do need to have this near your phone and or watch to be able to capture it. Like you can't just do a workout or run on these without your watch or phone nearby and like hope that it transfers over later. You have to have your phone or your watch nearby and it'll work. It does feel a little redundant, but if you can't or don't want to wear a watch, this will do it. But it only works with certain workouts in the fitness app right now. Now, in terms of battery life, the APP3 claim 8 hours with ANC on, which is up from the 6 hours of APP2 from a few years back. From my testing, I only did one rundown. I got almost 9 hours of battery life with APP3. This is with volume at like 40, 50%, so I didn't crank it, but it's a very long-lasting device. Now, the case doesn't hold as much. This is a 24-hour total battery with like the recharge from the case. This was 30. Now, just anecdotally, this is now a 3-year-old product for me. I got this very close to when it launched. This barely gets 4 hours of battery at this point. It originally was 6 hours. I did the testing years ago, but it's now just over 4 hours. So degradation is very real on these things. As the batteries are tiny, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just degrade aggressively. Now, price-wise, these are relatively expensive on the wireless earbud market. These cost $250. The thing is, you can get pretty good sounding ones for like 150 bucks. Like the Nothing ears are significantly cheaper than these. You get a ton of really impressive features with APP3, but it comes at a price. Now, here's my take on this. I think a lot of people buy Apple's AirPods Pros exclusively for just the audio experience. And the question I think a lot of people have is if they already own an APP2, should they get the APP3? And my take on it is this. If what you use it for is just listening to music and you already are completely satisfied with the very powerful ANC of APP2, I don't see like why it would be worth getting these. If that's what you're using it for, just listening to music. But if you like all the crazy features that APP3 has, particularly if it involves the microphone, because it's just got a kick-ass microphone system, then yeah, there's literally nothing else on the market that does it as good as this product. It's really good. It's just that in terms of the audio, I thought APP2 was actually a little bit better. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope I saved a few people $250.